Hello, my name is Brittany Ramsey.
Hello, and my name is Penelope Cochran. Academic and social impact of extracurricular activities as perceived by students, parents, and teachers. Education 534 Research Project.
The research question that guided this study was, to what extent, if any, does extracurricular activities support upper primary and secondary students academically and socially?
Background. Teachers directly influence students' academic and social success inside the classroom. We see this when teachers are building trust with their students, developing engaging lessons, and fostering a community of learners. Extracurricular activities are an outside factor that also influence students' academic and social development. This study features 2 schools from a single school district. In the intermediate grades, we have 8 clubs that meet either once a month or once a week, depending on their sponsors. High school has over 30 extracurricular activities that typically meet once a month or for 30 minutes or more frequency.
Prior research has shown that extracurricular activities positively impact students' academics. Studies have shown that involvement in extracurricular activities can lead to an increase in students' academic self-concept, their individual grades, as well as their grade point averages, and their test scores. Additionally, involvement in extracurricular activities can lead to an increase in the time that students spend on homework and can increase students' intrinsic motivation. Students involved in extracurricular activities also have been found to have higher attendance rates and lower dropout rates, as well as higher levels of school satisfaction. Prior research has also shown that involvement in extracurricular activities can positively influence students' social development. Studies have shown that extracurricular activities provide students with more opportunities for peer-to-peer interactions compared to the traditional classroom setting. Students involved in extracurricular activities have been shown to have fewer behavioral problems and increased feelings of school belonging. And participation in extracurricular activities can strengthen students' soft and non-cognitive skills such as leadership, teamwork, collaboration, problem solving, and time management skills, to name a few. And involvement in extracurriculars can help improve students' self-concept, their self-esteem, and their social competence.
Methods. Correlational study to analyze the influence that extracurricular involvement had on students' academic and social skills. Three surveys to collect data for this research. The first survey was given online to 11th and 12th grade students. Parent permissions were sent home for the high school students prior to given survey. The second survey was given on paper to parents whose child was in the upper primary levels, which included grades 3 through 5th. Cover letters was sent home explaining our research paper. The third study was given online to teacher sponsors or coaches. Teachers who sponsored a school club or coached a sport, and some teachers had sponsored more than just one club. This study used both qualitative and quantitative data. This data was used to both verify and supplement existing data. Responses. 19 high school students were included in this survey. There were 16 seniors and 3 juniors. We had 10 females and 9 males. 17 responses from parents of students in the upper primary grades. In the survey, we had 6 third grade, 8 fourth grade, 3 fifth grade. We had 4 females and 13 males.
After collecting the surveys, average values were calculated for the quantitative data. This data included the number of extracurricular activities students were involved in, the number of leadership positions they held within those activities, the average hours per week they spent on their extracurriculars, and the high school students' GPAs, ACT scores, and number of days they have missed. Then, independent two-tailed t-tests were used to determine if there was any statistically significant difference in the total number of extracurriculars that students in the younger grades were in compared to students in the older grade. And this type of test was repeated for the female students versus the male students. Then, graphs were produced to determine if there was any correlation between the high school students' GPA and number of extracurriculars, as well as their ACT scores and extracurriculars, and the number of days they missed in their extracurriculars. For each of these graphs, the Pearson R value, or the correlation coefficient, was calculated. Fisher's exact test was then used to determine if there was any significant difference in the Likert-style questions that were included on the surveys. There were 2 Likert-style questions on these surveys, with responses for each of those ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. The first Likert-style question asked whether participants believed extracurriculars positively influence students' academics, and the second Likert-style question asked participants whether they believed that extracurriculars positively impact students' social development. Regarding the first Likert-style question that asked participants whether they believed extracurriculars positively impact students' academics, it was found that all 3 groups, so the students, parents, and teachers, viewed extracurriculars as beneficial for students' academics. Fisher's exact test found that the views of each of these groups were not statistically different, or not statistically significantly different, and it gave a p-value of 0.4303. As seen in the table here, none of the respondents selected disagree or strongly disagree for this Likert-style question. The second Likert-style question in the surveys asked participants whether they believed extracurriculars whether extracurriculars positively influence students' social development. The data revealed that all 3 groups viewed extracurriculars as beneficial for social development. Fisher's exact test demonstrated that the views of each of these 3 groups were not statistically significantly different, and gave a p-value of 0.4787. As seen in this table here, none of the respondents selected disagree or strongly disagree for this question as well. For determining whether there was a correlation between the high school students' GPA and the number of extracurricular activities, these 2 variables were plotted, and the plot revealed a very weak positive correlation between GPA and total number of extracurriculars, with an R value of 0.15. Plotting the high school students' ACT scores with the total number of extracurricular activities gave a strong positive correlation between these 2 variables, with an R value of 0.60. Then plotting the high school students' number of days missed with the number of extracurricular activities they were involved in gave a very weak positive correlation between these variables with an R value of 0.04. Finally, the reasons why students join their extracurricular activities greatly vary. For the high school students, the most common selected reason was to build their college resume or application. 19 of the respondents selected this option. The second most commonly picked response was interacting and meeting new friends, in which 16 of these respondents selected this option. For the students in grades 3 through 5, the most commonly selected response was pursuing other interests outside of class, with 10 of these respondents selecting this option. And the second most common answer for this survey was interacting and meeting new friends, with 8 of these respondents selecting this option.
Conclusion. Students, parents, and teachers viewed extracurricular favorable with regard to academic and social skills. The data shows no statistically significant difference between groups. Students in grades 11 through 12 participated in statistically significant more extracurriculars than those in grades 3 through 5. More extracurricular involvement does not necessarily mean greater benefits. A student in one club does not necessarily benefit less than a student who is in several clubs. On average, high school was 4.75, while upper primary average was 2.24. More extracurricular involvement does not necessarily mean greater benefits. The data revealed a strong correlation between only ACT scores and extracurricular activities. Most selected reason for joining extracurricular. Grades 11 through 12, 100% responded by wanting to join by building college resumes and application, while 59% of grades 3 through 5 joined to pursue other interests outside of the class. Recommendations. Support students' involvement in extracurriculars in the upper primary and secondary levels. All stakeholders should support student involvement. More studies are recommended with different schools, regions, and grade levels, and with large sample sizes. Further studies are recommended due to the COVID-19. Sample sizes were small in the study.